Right now, every 15 seconds, your TV may be taking a screenshot of whatever is on its screen and sending it to a server you've never heard of. It doesn't matter if you're watching Netflix. It doesn't matter if you're using it as a monitor for your laptop. It doesn't even matter if the device plugged into the HDMI port belongs to the TV manufacturer or not. The TV is still looking. Researchers proved it last year. Texas is suing 5 of the biggest TV brands in America because of it. And the most uncomfortable part isn't that it's happening, it's why. Because somewhere along the way, the company that sold you the television figured out that the TV itself was no longer the product you were. Let's start with the name, because once you know it, you'll see it everywhere. The technology is called Automatic Content Recognition, ACR. The simplest way to picture it, think of Shazam, the app that tells you what song is playing in a coffee shop. ACR is Shazam for whatever is on your TV. Every so often, sometimes every minute, sometimes every fraction of a second, your TV takes a small fingerprint of what's on screen. It can be a frame of video, a snippet of audio, or both. That fingerprint is matched against a giant database until the TV knows exactly what you're watching. Not roughly, exact. The manufacturer will tell you this is for your benefit, to recommend better content, to improve smart features. That's the version they put in the marketing copy. The version they don't put in the marketing copy is the one researchers measured directly in 2024, that LG televisions were sending these viewing fingerprints to their servers every 15 seconds, and Samsung televisions every minute, continuously, whether you were watching their own apps or not. To understand how a TV ended up working like an advertising company, you have to understand what happened to the price of televisions. A decent flat screen used to cost a couple $1,000s. Today, a comparable model costs a few hundred. Manufacturing got cheaper, sure, but not that much cheaper. What changed? What changed is that the business model flipped. TV makers stopped making real money on the hardware itself and discovered they could make far more by monetizing the viewer after the sale, by selling ad space inside the TV's home screen, by licensing the data about what you watched. Vizio, the budget TV brand, made a public filing showing that its platform revenue, meaning ads and data, had reached $598 million. That number was higher than the revenue from selling the actual televisions, which means the cheap TV in your living room isn't really cheap. You're paying for it twice, once at the store and then again quietly for every hour you have it on. Here's how the data side works. The moment your smart TV connects to the internet, ACR turns on by default. The screenshots, or audio fingerprints, start flowing out, and the TV's servers identify the content. The result gets attached to a unique identifier for your television and frequently linked to the IP address of your home network, which means it can be cross-referenced with the phone in your pocket and the laptop on your desk. The system doesn't just know your TV watches Yellowstone. It can know that the person who watches Yellowstone is the same person whose phone is now driving past a billboard for a truck. Here's where the researchers found something that genuinely surprised them. A team from University College London and partner universities ran a test. They put Samsung and LG TVs through their paces, including in HDMI-only mode, basically using the TV as a dumb monitor for a laptop. The TVs kept tracking. The researchers watched the ACR traffic leaving the device while the screen showed a laptop. The TV was identifying, or trying to identify, content from a source it didn't even own. Read that one more time. You can plug your work laptop into a smart TV to give a presentation. You can plug in a gaming console. You can plug in a DVD player from 2005, and the TV will still try to fingerprint what's on the screen and ship it home. In 2017, the FTC and the state of New Jersey went after a TV manufacturer for exactly this kind of behavior. The company was Vizio. The FTC alleged that starting in 2014, Vizio had been collecting viewing data from 11 million televisions without telling people clearly. The complaint said Vizio was tracking what consumers watched on a second-by-second basis, and that the system collected more than 100 billion data points per day. Vizio settled for $2.2 million, which sounds like a lot, until you realize how much money the underlying business is now worth. After the settlement, Vizio simply restructured the operation through a subsidiary and kept going. 6 years later, the data side was outperforming the hardware side. The penalty did not change the math. Then in 2024, a much bigger fight started. The Attorney General of Texas filed lawsuits against 5 of the largest smart TV makers in America: Samsung, Sony, LG, TCL, and Hisense, alleging they had unlawfully collected personal data through ACR. Not one company, 5 at once. The legal theory was simple, that the way these televisions had been collecting viewing data, turned on by default, with opt-outs buried in menus most consumers couldn't find, amounted to unfair and deceptive practices. By early 2026, Samsung had reached a settlement and started sending direct emails to its US customers, formally confirming that yes, ACR runs on their TVs, yes, it collects viewing history along with a personalized service identifier and the IP address, and yes, customers had always had the right to opt out. That sentence, "You have always had the right to opt out," is doing a lot of work because it implies the right is obvious. It isn't. Most people receiving that email had been opted in for years and had no idea. What it tells you plainly is this: this is not paranoia. This is the Attorney General of the second largest state in the country accusing the entire industry of doing something they're not supposed to be doing, and one of those companies, the biggest of them, settling rather than fight. The twist is that the TV is no longer separate from everything else. For decades, watching television was the most private thing you did in your home. Nobody knew what you watched. You couldn't be tracked across episodes. You couldn't be retargeted with an ad 5 hours later on your phone because you paused on a car commercial. The TV was a closed loop. That closed loop is gone. The viewing data your smart TV produces is fed into the same data infrastructure that knows where your phone has been, what you searched yesterday, which app you opened at 11 p.m., and it's stitched together into one profile of you, the person, across every screen you own. Samsung itself bragged in a 2019 white paper that its ACR dataset covered nearly 60% of the US television footprint. They weren't ashamed of the number. They were selling it to advertisers as a feature. So when you sit down at the end of a long day and turn on a documentary about, say, grief or addiction or a medical condition, that signal can leave your television, attached to your household's identifier, and be available hours later to anyone willing to pay for it. The television in your living room used to be a window into the world. It is now also a window the other direction. So how do you turn it off? You can, but be ready, because the manufacturers really do not want you to find the switch. 3 moves worth knowing. First, find the ACR setting and disable it. Every brand uses a different name. On Samsung, it's usually Viewing Information Services, buried under Settings, then General or Terms and Policies. On LG, it's Live Plus. On Vizio, look for viewing data. On Roku TVs, it's Smart TV Experience. If you can't find it on your specific model, the search term that works on every brand is your TV model number, plus disable ACR. There are good walkthroughs for every major model online. Second, while you're in those menus, look for Limit Ad Tracking and Personalized Advertising. Turn both off. They control whether your TV's unique advertising identifier gets shared with networks. Third, this one is the most underrated. Don't connect the TV to your Wi-Fi at all if you don't need it. Use a separate streaming stick for your apps. No internet connection, no data leaving the TV. The screen is a screen again. You lose the smart features. You gain back the closed loop. For a lot of people, that's a fair trade. Here's what I keep coming back to. There's something quietly profound about the television. For most of its history, it was a one-way device. You bought it, you brought it home, and it talked to you. That was the deal. You knew what you were getting because the relationship was simple. A screen on a wall showing you the world. That television doesn't really exist anymore. What sits on your wall today is a screen, yes, but also a fingerprint scanner of light and a salesman who took notes on every show you watched and quietly shopped those notes around the neighborhood while you slept. The thing in your living room got smarter. The deal it offers you got worse, and almost nobody told you it was happening. So I'll leave you with this. Now that you know what your television has been doing, would you still buy a smart TV again? Or are you going to start looking for the kind that just plays the show?